Hi, everyone, and welcome back. Or if you are new to the pod, this is The Things We Know, and you picked a great episode to start with today because Kari and I are very excited about our special guest.
Yes, we are, Lisa. As many of our frequent listeners know, we know that we speak to a lot of women of a certain age. We used to say that a lot, and then we stopped saying that because we had women of all ages. But really, we know that women like us are listening. And that we've said many times, this is not specifically a menopause focused pod, but we're all going through some variation of this stage of our lives. And every once in a while, sometimes more often than not, we need to talk about it and understand it, get support, and most of all, get clarity and hope so we can know that the best is not behind us, despite the roller coaster ride that we didn't choose, which includes the fun physical and emotional symptoms that can come with it.
Huzzah! So anyway, yay us. We are so excited today, though, to have one of our favorite humans, Susan Liddy, a master coach and founder of Vibrant Menopause Solutions. We are thrilled that you are here. Kari and I both, what seems like eons ago, worked with you. And so we know firsthand how passionate you are to work with women in particular. And we're just thrilled to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here, you guys. It's like getting a band back together.
I know it is.
It just occurred to me thinking about that, like, because I'm so visceral. So like seeing you and then talking about that, you like we worked for you. You came into our team and like guided the team through sorry, something's beeping in my ear. You guided the whole team through a big time of transition. Like really big time. And isn't that cool that we're here to talk with you about you guiding other women and yourself through a big transition? Like that's just must be your thing. But like that's how I think of you. Things were kind of like crazy bringing like trying to marry two totally different worlds, and you did it so calmly. We even took a trip during that time.
Was it calm? It seemed calm.
It sure did to us. Like you inherited a lot of us. And you did it so calmly and with a lot of humor. And so I just want to throw that in there because it's interesting how that sort of applies.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a very humor, calm, and care, and again, I think, and we're going to do, Kari will do your whole intro here in a second, but I think, as a coach, that's a really important piece of all of this, especially when you're talking about something that can be so world upsetting as going through menopause. To be able to see the humor in the midst of all the crap, it's important.
So do you mind taking a sip while I give you a proper bio, little intro? Because I think it's important for people to know about you.
All right.
So Susan Liddy is a board certified holistic health practitioner and menopause educator on a mission to transform menopause into the rite of passage it is meant to be. I love that. She is the founder of Vibrant Menopause Solutions, a health coaching company dedicated to supporting Gen X women like us, feeling crushed by menopause, but unable to find the causes or solutions. Susan's personal journey, which we're going to learn more about today, through menopause brought her to her knees, begging for help from the conventional medical system, but was unable to find it. That is not an unusual story, is it? And after 2 years of failed hormone replacement therapy and an SSRI, Susan knew there had to be another way. So this profound experience ignited her passion and led her to her life's work, empowering women to master menopause naturally. Wow, I'm excited.
Yeah, I love it. We were sort of talking before we started recording, if anyone has listened to we did a little menopause series in our first season. And that's why Kari jokes that this isn't a menopause pod, because I was like, okay, that can't be what this is always about. I am lucky
it is what it's all about.
And I think part of it is because I haven't had severe menopause, and yet I am around so many women that are, and so I really loved the piece around it being a Gen X menopause crisis. Yes. So tell us more about that, because you're right, it is.
And my
It
ears
is.
are perked up.
We call it a crisis, you guys. It is estimated that 6,000 women in the United States cross into menopause every day. Okay. So now 60% of them are going to describe menopause as being awful and nightmarish. 60%. 60% of that 60% will actually seek help from the conventional medical system. 75% of them won't get it. They won't find it. Now, we're talking about at least 1 million women every year having this nightmarish, awful experience. And I would say that I was one of the 60%. Now, Lisa, you sound like you're in the 40%,
Yeah.
which is fantastic. Your menopause might be more similar to the menopause that our mothers had. And I'll tell you that what we're finding is that menopause is getting harder with each passing generation. There have been some studies on it, and it used to be, hot flashes. Now, I'm not poo-pooing hot flashes. They're terrible. They suck. Like who loves hot flashes? Not me, right? But it used to be more about that kind of being bitchy and irritable and all of that. But our generation, the 60% of us, and I was one of them, and I would even say I'm still one of them. If I were to give up my practices and my lifestyle and my boundaries, and we'll talk more about all that stuff, I would probably fall back into feeling crushed again, right? But that is a lot of women who are feeling completely crushed and not being able to get help from the conventional medicine, right? From our OBGYNs, from our family doctors. So I call it a crisis, because if we've got millions of women, it's just 1 million women every year, right? Imagine like 2 years, 5 years, we've got millions of women who are being brought to our knees. We've got a crisis here. And it is a Gen X crisis, because it's not anything that the previous generations have ever known. I think it's getting worse too. And we can talk about that if you want.
I would love to hear, like, so what is it that's different? Because you're right. What makes me nervous for my daughter now is that in my mind, I thought, well, it's my mom, I don't remember her really talking about it. Now, granted, I probably wasn't living with her at the time because I was older and I was either living with my dad or out on my own. But like, I don't remember her having a bad menopause. So I thought, oh, okay, that's why I'm not having one. And then Charlotte probably won't have one. But I hear what you're saying. It's more tied to what we're going through as women of this age, Gen X women, versus what boomer women went through. So what are millennials going to go through? What are Gen Z going to go through? And so on and so on and so on. So what's the difference?
Yeah, so my research has brought me to the difference being our modern lifestyle. So think about this, right? Think about this. So when we were younger and we're growing up, we are on the precipice of the huge technology boom, right?
Yeah.
So we are now becoming more sedentary as a culture, as we're all of us in adulthood now. We also were on the precipice of the big boom of processed food, refined food, preserved food. We grew up with meats that were pumped with growth hormones, antibiotics. We are now at the point where studies are showing that our soils are so depleted that our fruits and vegetables have dramatically come down in the nutrients that are in them. So we came up through this whole, generation of the process, the fast, the convenience, TV dinners, McDonald's.
Let me say, like Tang and Velveeta. Tang?
What's that?
Tang and Velveeta.
Tang. Velveeta isn't even cheese. It's a cheese product. It's crazy.
I mean, in fairness to my parents, I didn't get a lot of that at home, but like those were the things I remember just jonesing over at someone else's house. And my parents were definitely, probably buying meat that was, injected with hormones, but they thought they were,
it wasn't the food industries, the sugar industry, the grain industry. My instructors at the College of Functional Wellness say that we broke wheat. We literally broke wheat in the 1940s by hybridizing it. How do you say it? We made a hybrid wheat that grows much shorter and has a lot more of the grains coming out. It grows a lot faster, so it can be harvested faster. And so what do we do there? We've multiplied the gluten content. And that wheat is in everything now. Gluten is in everything. So the thing that we're eating, the toxins, the chemicals that we're breathing, we're drinking, we're eating, we're putting on our skin, right? That's just absorbing into our bodies is dramatically altering our hormones. And I would say that I'm going to take it a step further. So do you guys remember, the commercial? I can bring home the bacon.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Anjali.
Yeah. Yeah. Anjali, the 8-hour perfume for the 24-hour woman. So we grew up in the superwoman syndrome era.
Yeah.
And we were told not only that we could have it all, but that we should have it all. And if we don't have it all, we are failures. And so this was so empowering. It's so like we did grow up in a very empowered generation for women, absolutely. And I'm so grateful for that. But those messages of be it all, have it all, be the 24-hour woman, raise the kids, take care of the parents, have the house out of home and gardens, right? The impact on our stress systems has greatly altered our postmenopausal body's ability to produce our sex hormones now that our ovaries are like, I'm out.
Yeah.
They get a rest, but you don't, right?
Wow.
So that superwoman, the constant stress, the stressors on our bodies, right? Emotional, the work, the finances, the ideals of beauty, just I could go on and on and on of what this generation has held on our shoulders. And it has embodied within us. And before menopause, we can drink coffee in the afternoon and feel a perk up, and we can take Advil and overcome that headache and the antacid for the stomach upset. The antidepressant, why would we feel so depressed, right? With all of this, like that stuff works, but menopause is like the apple that tips over the cart.
Oh yeah.
That stuff works for the 60%. Right? For us, 60%, we've got to do more than just a hormone replacement therapy or an SSRI, which is what they put me on for 2 years. That, that
just flattens you. In my case, that just flattened me. It didn't help anything. I'm curious about something because Lisa was saying about her mom. My mom had a hysterectomy, so she sort of bypassed it. So my sister and I are both kind of like, what's going on with you? So I'm curious about your own journey, like your apple that tipped your cart, like what brought you to your knees, if you don't mind sharing. Like what did yours look like?
What brought me to my knees was brain fog that was so debilitating. I could hardly have a conversation. I started getting very isolated because I just didn't feel that I could really interact with people. I would forget my words, forget my keys. I was forgetting things all over the place. I had crushing fatigue. Getting out of bed every morning was a miracle in and of itself, that I could actually get up, get dressed, right? Do my job, earn money. So the brain fog, the crushing fatigue, my hair was coming out in gobs. I've had a lot of it grow back in. I'm just so grateful for that. But it was like coming out in gobs. I was like horrified, that like I never considered that I was going to lose my hair in menopause. Dry, itchy skin. I felt like I had bugs just crawling all over me all the time. And I had this like rash around my eyes where my skin was flaking off onto my glasses and all over my clothes, as if I had dandruff. Aches and pains. Oh, the aches and pains. I feel like I could hardly move. And the worst thing, I would say the worst thing, I thought I lost myself forever. I thought I lost myself.
I mean, this doesn't sound like you at all. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
again, we haven't talked probably in a couple of years. I mean, we see each other on Facebook and that, but
It's
like,
been like 6 years.
and I think that's so interesting because like who I'm seeing right now is who I remember. So I
Yeah, me
can't even
too.
comprehend. Yes, hallelujah, right? But like,
Yeah.
I can't even comprehend what you're saying.
Yeah.
I
I
know.
can't picture you like this at all.
Yeah.
That must
Yeah.
have been devastating.
It was scary as hell.
I bet.
And I would look in the mirror and see somebody looking back at me, but couldn't really connect the dots that that was me.
Mm.
And I couldn't feel like my essence inside of me. I was just sort of a shadow. I say I was a shadow of my former self. And that was a good 3 years.
Wow.
And I don't know what it was. I mean, I've tried talking to doctors, and I was on synthetic hormonal replacement therapy. I was put on an SSRI because I was so anxious, and then I was depressed, and and that was not like me. I was very optimistic and go-getter, kind of a person with lots of goals and a big bright future, and helping others do that too. And I had lost touch with being able to do that for myself. So I don't know what it was that I remember that morning. It's raining, it's cold, it's foggy, and I get down on my knees in my bedroom, and I'm just like, God, please. And I'm sobbing, please, fix me
Mm.
or kill me. Fix me or
Mm.
kill me, because I can't live like this for the rest of my life. I can't
Yeah.
make money. I can't support myself. I can't do what I'm supposed to do here on the planet. I'm no longer having a social life, connecting with family. I'm isolated. I'm just like, and I just pleaded, help me, you know? And I
Yeah.
heard back, fix yourself. You can get yourself back. And I'm just like, do you know what it's like to say something like that to a menopausal woman?
Like,
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Well,
Oh my God. Yeah.
it's
Like,
always the
you can
biggest
turn
bummer of
water to
adulthood.
wine. You can't do me one here. Do
do
me
me
a
a
favor.
solid.
It is the biggest bummer of adulthood. You're like, who's gonna fix? Oh, I gotta.
Yeah.
So I got to do it. You know what though, girls? So it's very vivid. I vividly remember this moment and the anger I felt, and the, like, anybody challenge me, I'm gonna blow you away. So I did that to God. I was like, fine, fuck you. I'm gonna do it myself. I don't need you, and you're gonna get none of the credit. Right.
Mm.
So it put me on a journey. It came to a point in the last I don't know, year or two, that I now look back on that message, and I'm so grateful. That was a
Mm.
message of, I believe in you,
Mm.
and I have a job for you, and I want you to go through this and figure this out, because I've got something for you to do. So it
Mm.
brought me to my purpose,
Yeah.
you know? And it
Mm.
became the biggest blessing of my life.
Your struggle's your greatest gift. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
just
But
beautiful.
man, in that goddamn moment.
Yeah, us Gen X, like, that's the thing, right? Like, we are a powerful generation.
So,
We are.
what
Yeah.
did you do first?
The
Besides,
very first thing I did was I went over to, I remembered that I had a book. I didn't know what to do first. I remembered I had a book. And I went and I found the book, and it was a book talking about food intolerances and doing an elimination diet. So I went through that thing. It sat on my shelf for years. I was never like a health conscious kind of a person, because we kind of connect the dots there, right? I was never like I felt that I was healthy, like I never ate junk food or whatever, but I was never like a super health conscious person. There'd been people over the years that have been like, "Ooh, watch out with gluten." I'd be like, so stupid. Yeah, okay. Now there's this stuff that I talk to people about all the time. And I read that book and I picked out recipes and I hired 2 women to come and cook the recipes for me. And we put each serving into a freezer container, and we froze like 30 days worth of these meals because I knew I wasn't going to do it. I wouldn't be able to stick with it if I didn't have the meals ready to go. So that was the first thing I did. Then I started looking into functional labs, and I'm like, all right, I've heard of this stuff. Let's see what it is. And I had some labs done. And the thing that was so striking to me at the time, like I didn't understand all the other lab markers at the time. Like now I can put more of the puzzle together. But what struck me the most was that I was on the path to insulin resistance. Type 2 diabetes. Bless you.
Yeah.
Type 2 diabetes. And I was
Wow.
like, are you kidding me? How
Yeah.
could that be possible? I had gained 15 pounds that I couldn't lose, I'm by no means, obese, in that range of, what they would traditionally say. Somebody should be careful with type 2 diabetes. I was completely floored. So I got a continuous glucose monitor. And I discovered that my blood sugars were like spiking all day long.
Wow.
Super high, and in the middle of the night. And so what I've been able to tie together is that your blood sugars, so when you don't have a blood sugar balance, it totally affects what I call the intersystems of menopause. So this is a model that I put together to help explain what the heck is going on with us 60%. So with blood sugars, when we're on this blood sugar roller coaster with the spikes and the drops and the spikes and the drops, that leads to the cortisol, our stress response system, producing so much cortisol that it literally blocks the production of our sex hormones. We're already struggling, right, with sex hormone production in perimenopause. And menopause, our ovaries say, I'm done. At that point, our adrenal glands should take over and produce estrogen and progesterone and testosterone for us. They won't produce as much as we need. So I am a fan of bioidentical hormone therapy at the right time, but the adrenal glands do produce estrogen and progesterone. And so when we're on this blood sugar, right, the adrenal glands won't produce that. So now you are completely flatlined on your progesterone. It also, blood sugars also impair our gut motility. Okay, so we've got food sticking around in the digestive system longer than it should. It starts to ferment. Now we can lead to SIBO. Right? This is all going to weaken our immune system. That's going to trigger our stress response system even more. Right? And the less sex hormones we have, the more insulin resistant we become. And so it creates this like secular, right? Situation of firestorm, of symptoms of brain fog and fatigue and weight gain, sugar cravings, the list goes on and on. All of these symptoms that we feel in Gen X menopause can absolutely be tied back. So I discovered that. Like, oh my gosh. And then I get my food intolerance tests, back, and I'm just like, oh, I should not be eating dairy. I should not be eating almonds. I should not be eating kale.
Wow.
So no more yogurt, all of these things. And I'm like, how is this possible? Because I also did the elimination diet, and then I also did a lab, and the food intolerances was one of the labs. And I'm just like, I'm eating this stuff every day. So I've got the blood sugars, I've got the food intolerances, right? I mean, the list goes on of all
and
of
the sleep spiking too. That's crazy.
What's that?
And the sleep spiking, like where you were spiking in your sleep. That's crazy. Like, how would you even know to control that?
Yeah, and that will absolutely disrupt your sleep. Absolutely create a situation where it's going to wake you up in the middle of the night. So Yeah, so that's what started it. And as I discovered a little thing here, and I guess a little solution here, a little solution here, I was like, wow, there's so much here that nobody was telling me. There's so much that's just connected with this crazy menopausal experience that I'd had, that I wish that I'd known sooner.
I mean, isn't that the thing though, right? Nobody understands this. So the fact,
Oh.
not nobody.
Hang on 2 seconds. I got to plug in. I'm losing my power.
Okay. I mean, you and I could talk, but I think it's interesting because once again, we're hearing this, like, why are we having to go on our own journey to figure this stuff out? We don't go in like a doctor. So few doctors understand this, right? I mean, this was the conversation. We had two episodes. Yeah, 2 episodes last year or first season with Kari's friend who she became a doctor, didn't want to have anything to do with hormones, and then starts going through it and starts doing the research. I mean, as I'm listening to you, because you're back to your normal, happy, energetic self, it's like, it sounds like so much. And you have a background in coaching and health and that sort of thing. So you had the book on your shelf, but for the lay person that is probably listening to this pod, like, what is the first thing you would suggest they do?
Get with me.
100%.
Yeah, I would say get with me. Yeah. So the thing is, and I'll give more on that, but like, I am not shy about, like, get with me. We need to talk.
Yeah. And all of your links are in everything.
Yeah, we do, because this stuff is hardly being talked about. 20% of our OBGYNs get training in menopause. The OBGYNs, only 20% of them get training in menopause.
And do they have to search it out, do you know? Or is it just happens to be wherever they go to school?
It doesn't happen anywhere that they go to school. That's the thing. So they would have to search it out.
Okay. I was going to say it's like CEUs, because it's my husband's area.
Yeah. Okay. And the thing is too, that our medical system, which there's absolutely a place for the medical system. I'm so grateful for various ways that the medical system has been helpful for me. So I'm by no means saying, down with the medical system forever kind of a thing. There's a time and a place for that. But they are heavily influenced by the pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah.
Most of their CEU, most of their, continued education is taught by the pharmaceutical companies. And so they are, that's why they're prescribing birth control for us.
For menopause?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yes, they're prescribing synthetic hormone replacement therapy. If you can get it, sometimes even through perimenopause, you can't even get it, from the doctors, but the synthetic, they're prescribing the SSRIs, thinking it's like a serotonin issue when it's not. It is not a serotonin issue. And part of the problem too is that the birth control and the hormone replacement therapy, the synthetic, the progesterone in that isn't even progesterone. It's progestin. And progestin is more chemically similar to testosterone. Testosterone is excitatory. It amps you up. It's the get up and go, it's the kick, right?
Yep.
Estrogen is too. And so we're prescribing to our menopausal women estrogen, excitatory, get up and go kick, progestin, excitatory, get up and go kick. And that can be a reason why so many of us feel tired and wired, or like we stuck our finger in an electric socket, right? Frenetic, right? Anxious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the medical system isn't much help. What I would say the first thing to do is to really get honest with how you're living. Okay. What's the truth? What did Elanya Van Zandt, she had a term for that, like, what's the, come to the truth of how you're living, or something like that.
Yes.
You remember?
I do. That sounds like right. That. Yes.
Yeah, she was good. And what I want you to get to the truth of is the stressors in your life. So I'm not going to call it stress. Okay, just the stressors in your life. And really, look at, what are you eating? How are you prioritizing your sleep? Movement. Now, movement exercise can be a tough one, because if you're, crushed, with fatigue, that can be a hard one. And then there's also the other side of the coin of that, of moving too much. That stresses the body. So, taking a look at your movement, your level of exercise, looking at your toxic load. How many chemicals, how many toxins do you have, surrounding you, that you're putting on your skin and whatnot. Now, I made the personal decision 6 months ago to stop coloring my hair. Okay.
I like it though. It looks pretty.
Thanks.
Good.
It's cool.
I like it. Yeah, I think it looks really cool.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm really having fun with it. I still have my brown down here, and we'll see.
Yeah.
But I made that decision because I was no longer willing to allow society, cultural, I was no longer was willing to accept what society defined me as beautiful in midlife. And I wanted to have natural, fluffy hair that just feels like totally, I just flattened my hair. But I'm sitting here wearing makeup, so I'm not suggesting, like, oh, just wear burlap bags and, don't take care of yourself, and whatever, wearing earrings. I took a shower with soap this morning,
Yeah.
but take a look at some of the other things, that what are you willing to exchange? I was willing to exchange the hair dye.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to exchange my makeup. But then I also really look at, like, I buy organic, right? So I'm reducing my toxic load by eating organic. I no longer buy just the Clorox and, the really heavy cleaners. I'll buy the more natural, cleaners that are not only good for me and my body, that are good for the environment. So
Right.
I make trade-offs. So I would say, take a look, get an honest look at how you're living, how you're eating, what are you putting in your body, what's around you, and also consider there's something that I say that I help women reverse the clock and get themselves back. Okay. And that self is a capital S. Self, capital S. And the truth is that you're never going to get your premenopause self back. And you don't want to. You don't want to. We want to grow. We want to evolve. We want to become. Okay. And so the other thing that I was going to say, and this is a practice that I have in evaluating when I'm going to make a choice for myself, does this align with my true self? Capital S. Does this help myself emerge more, and come out in the world more, right? So those are the kinds of things that I started thinking about at the beginning of my journey that took me years, and I did do the functional labs, and I did do the assessments, and I have balanced my blood sugars, and I've done detoxes. You guys know right now I'm doing a mineral balance protocol, right? Because
Yeah.
to keep my minerals balanced, and they're big. That's a big thing for energy and clarity of thought, kind of like turns the lights back on, doing things like that. So there's all sorts of things to do, but I don't want to be the same as everybody else saying, try this, let them do this, oh, it's whatever, right? And that's why I designed this intersystems of menopause, this model, because what we really want to do is take a look at that and see under the hood. What are we dealing with here? And where are the symptoms pointing to a starting point that's going to be the biggest bang for our buck? Okay. And for those of us in the 60% that is not BHRT, and I would say never synthetic hormone replacement therapy, it's just too risky. Then it just, the progestin doesn't cut it. We need progesterone. It's a whole nother, there's so much I could tell you guys. It's so exciting, right? There's so much that I could tell you. But what we want to do is we want to be able to look and say, all right, this right here, let's start with this. And let's see over the course of the next 3 to 4 months, let's do another lab, see what's changed. Oh, look at that. We cleared all this out. Now we have a clear picture of, oh, look at that right there. Okay, let's go there next. And as we're doing that, like the physical stuff, we want to be doing, like the coaching. We want to be doing the mindset work, the breakthrough work, the trauma work. It's like, why am I unwilling to hold that boundary out there? Why do I always say yes to everything? When deep inside, I know I don't want to do that, So we bust through all of that while we're handling all this stuff. And, there you go.
Ta-da.
Ta-da. And it is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
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 It's not a like, I'm going to just take this HRT, and it's a lifestyle, but that's the beauty of it. We finally get to live the way that we were meant to live all along and really feel great.
It just seems crazy that this is such a, not a secret, because you're not keeping it a secret, but why it's why it's not more commonly known that you can feel better. You don't have to just endure this.
I know. We're told, oh, this is all just a natural part of aging as a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, but there's a way to attack it, but I guess, does it go back in some ways to, if pharmaceutical company hasn't put enough money, pharmaceutical companies haven't done enough, there's no money in it for them. Like if we find our way through menopause, then they lose out, I mean, it just always goes back to the money.
Yeah, you think about it.
Stop eating all that sugar, the sugar industry loses out.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. We stop eating all that wheat, the wheat industry, loses out. Yeah.
It's like, it is a mental health issue. It's a workforce issue. It's a physical health issue. Like that.
It affects every aspect of our lives.
It's so worth investing in something like you're offering, because you're gonna save yourself a lot of other things. I mean, I think a lot of women I was reading in menopause leave their jobs because they lost themselves and they lose their edge, they lose their confidence, or they burn too many bridges, and they just kind of feel like it's time, and that would be preventable.
Yeah, and the number one thing for us to help reestablish in our 60% is hope. Hope. You can get through this. You can have an even better second half. This is not the end. This is a beginning of something amazing. And we're living longer. Women are living longer. We live longer post-menopause than we did, the years coming up to it. A lot of women enter perimenopause in their mid-30s and they don't even realize it. So reproductive years are actually a shorter amount of time than our perimenopausal years. And, I'm seeing something in my news feeds. I'm big on Facebook. I play around with Instagram. I'll clean it up someday. I kind of made a mess of it, but I see in my news feeds a lot more these days, women and men who are 70, 80, 90, even early 100s, who are dancing, working out, engaging, who have Instagram channels better than mine. It is so possible for us to have an amazing experience in this part of life. And we should expect it, instead of all this crap that we're fed, that we're getting old and, we're going to lose ourselves and we're no longer sexy. And I had the best sex drive I've ever had.
Yay! That's awesome.
I mean, we laughed. This is one early on when we first started the pod. Again, in our minds, this was about women of a certain age. It was our age and older, maybe 40s. And then we found so many younger women listening, and one of the reasons was they wanted to hear what was coming, and Kari knows this, my favorite review was from my son's girlfriend, who's about to turn 22. And one of the reasons she loved this was because she was like, oh, it's so great to see that you don't turn 30 and blow away into dust, because that's
Yeah.
what society tells us, right? And
Yes.
and as well as, you know, social media and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
so to hear you say, especially somebody who's been their knees were taken out from underneath it, right? Like you were white, and now here you are saying, not only am I better, but I'm better than ever.
Yes.
Like that's amazing.
Thank God.
That gives me hope. But
Woo! Because that was dark. That was a dark period. Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh,
But I get it. And I really feel that I was supposed to go through that.
yeah.
You know, I was supposed to go because I never would have known. I
So
never would have known.
I mean, we've talked a lot about the steps, but I mean, and now you've just said you feel better than ever. Is there something that you feel could help in reframing this idea of menopause, right? Because we just said it. Menopause is, it's like you're bound to go through it, and it's gonna be hell, and then you're gonna be a crone on the other side of it. Like, how do we help reframe this so that it's
I
like,
think
yeah,
it's by
it's a part of your
living,
life?
by
Say that again.
living loudly, proudly,
Mm,
shouting it from the rooftops, you know, still wearing our cute, sexy clothes, our things that make us feel good, that make us feel alive, you know, wearing our
yeah.
red lipstick, you know, and our having our gold hair, so beautiful on you guys, you know, and getting out in life, you know, and
Yeah.
just doing life like we always have before.
Yeah.
And don't settle. And it is true that, you know, post-menopause, right? Things have changed physically, right? But
Yep.
at what point in our lives did things not change physically? We've It's always happened for us women, right? You know,
Yeah.
all of our
sure.
development,
You
you
get
know,
used to
all of
one
our
stage and then it changes.
we're I don't call it a women of a certain age, we're women of a certain stage. You know,
Mm,
and this is a beautiful part of being female, of
yeah.
being feminine. And we, as the Gen X, right, that we are, you know,
Loud and proud.
That's
we
us.
mustn't settle for it. We
Yeah.
mustn't settle for it. And it means that we need to step up. You know, our grandparents, our grandmothers, you know, they fought for our freedom to vote, you know, and I would even say our mothers fought for our freedom to have credit cards and own houses, right? Gen
Yeah.
X, we're fighting for our freedom to have menopause the way we want to have it, you
I
know,
love
and
it.
toss all that crap out. Toss it all away. Now, that fight does include having to make some powerful changes when people in your life, you know, like people were saying to me, you know, years ago, like, oh, maybe you shouldn't eat so much gluten. I'm like, are you know what they're talking about, right? So you're gonna have people like that that are just be like, oh, you know, oh, she's watching her blood sugar, you know. You have to just be able to take a stand for yourself and a stand
Yeah.
for your future daughters,
Yeah.
just like we started out, right? Like have you
Yeah.
guys noticed that, and there actually are studies done on this, the age of puberty for our girls
Way
is
earlier.
going down. You know,
Yep.
for us, we
Mhm.
were like 12.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like 10
Yeah,
Or
I've seen those
9.
studies.
or
Yeah.
Actually,
9.
but I have an aunt, so obviously older than me, who got her period at age 9. So I do think, you know, it's like I see it way more common now than my
Yeah.
friends who have daughters are telling me, like around 9 things are starting. My
Yeah,
aunt
we're
sort of
even
stood out.
seeing girls budding breasts as early as age 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it
Yeah.
is, and it is all the hormones. I think about when you were talking
Yeah.
about that earlier, and I always think about, you know, I didn't know anybody with peanut allergies when I was little, and yet how prevalent that is, you know, in Gen Z, millennials, Gen Z. And I think exactly what you were saying. And I'm full of transparency. I don't do any of this stuff. Like I don't eat organic. I never have. I mean, you know, the occasional, but like that's not the route I've ever gone. And yet I think 90s is when all the hormones or all the GMTs or whatever, Monsanto and all that jazz
Yeah.
started. And of course it makes sense that this is what we're seeing. And so if Gen X moms can empower themselves, then it's going to help their daughters, their millennials, their Gen Zs, their alphas get
Yes.
through this, because
Yes.
this is only the beginning.
Yes. And I would say you're in that 40%. I would say that you probably do really well with your stressors.
True.
You have some really great support system.
All true.
Right. And you probably, if I remember right, you exercise and you always have.
Yep.
Right. So
Yep.
you've had the building blocks there, for a long time, kind of built in. Now, for you, I would still encourage you to look into, and we can talk about it if you want to, BHRT, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy for the heart protection, the bone protection.
Interesting.
Right. That it affords us. And so it is the case that, and I would say that because you're handling your stressors really well, and you've got those building blocks in place, your adrenals are pumping out some good estrogen and progesterone for you, right? Body's doing what it's meant to do. That may not be enough for the long term for you.
Yeah.
Just kind of experience, research and see if the bioidentical hormone therapy.
Well, when we talked about that with Dr. Krista last year, and that was the first time I'd really heard about that. And it was interesting though, because then I went to my gynecologist to get my IUD out, and I did ask her about this stuff, and she's a young OBGYN, and she was just like, really? And I was like, damn it, even the young ones don't know anything about this. She very much poo-pooed me. And but to your point, like right now, it doesn't feel like something I need, but it's definitely buried in there as something to think about down the path.
Yeah, you can just keep in mind, if you're in the habit of, every year getting a physical of some sort, or running some functional labs, seeing where things are. If you see things starting to kind of slip, you're like, oh, maybe I'm at the point where I do need some more BHRT. Good news about BHRT is that you don't have to, they say about synthetic HRT that you should start it within 5 years, of your last bleed, your last period. Okay. And then after that, forget it. You've missed the window. BHRT is not like that. BHRT is molecularly the same structure as the estrogen and progesterone that your body makes. Okay. Nice. And you can start that at any time, and you can stay on it for as long as you want.
Okay. Nice. Good to know.
All right.
I'm like cracking up at that, because I think, and I'm glad for Lisa. I eat organic. I have all the things you mentioned. I'm like, check. Yet I'm in that 60%. So again, I wonder how much of there's some trauma and stress in my life that I have no control over, as a caregiver of somebody with a seizure disorder and all that. So I keep wondering, I've had so many professionals and people I've gone to, that are naturopaths and OBs and midwife, I family practitioners, and they all look at me and they're like, we can only do so much. We can't, it just seems like you're not getting enough sleep because you get woken up, and or they kind of look at me like I'm some special case.
What a horrible thing to say to someone.
I know.
Horrible.
They're like, oh, and every time I go, I, spend the money on the things they want me to try. Like, I'll do it. You want me to take these vitamins? You want me to try this? You want me to try this? I do. And they're like, then I go back. I'm like, still kind of having the energy fluctuations, still having the brain fog, still having the aches. And they're like,
that's like me.
Yeah.
That was like me. There's always more. There's always solutions. There's always an answer. That was something that got me through my journey when I was kind of out there on my own, just trying to put it together. And, I completed 3 or 4 certifications to learn about this, and dive into this. And I read books, and I did blogs and podcasts, and I took notes, and and then I got to the point where I'm just like, I'm going to launch Vibrant Menopause Solutions. I've got these solutions. And I hired somebody to help me then start organizing all of this massive amount of information. What got me through a lot of that was there's an answer for everything. There is, and don't let anybody ever tell you that this is how it's going to be for you. It's bullshit. They're just not willing to go the mile.
I don't give up. I just haven't found the answer yet.
I know. Yeah, I know you don't give up. Yeah.
So we're gonna have all your links, but so we can physically hear it. Where can people find you?
People can find me, well, at the website, vibrantmenopausesolutions.com.
Okay.
And I also have a masterclass that teaches the top 4 most overlooked solutions for mastering menopause, weight gain, brain fog, fatigue, and more.
Amazing.
You can find that at, and I've got a little tiny link. So you can find that at tinyurl.com/VMS masterclass. Okay. And it's about a 45-minute class that goes through, some of what we talked about today, but at a much deeper dive into the intersystems of menopause. I'm really big on women being able to understand what's happening, not just like, here, just do this. Trust me, just do this. I want you to know and make informed decisions and be empowered to be in the driver's seat of your health. Right? So this teaches, what's happening under the hood with some of this stuff and connects the dots.
Nice. Maybe some of these OBGYNs should take it.
Yeah, no kidding. I love it.
So this is the part of the episode where we ask the guest, do you bring a favorite song or a theme song or lyrics to a favorite song?
Yeah.
And it was so funny because we always ask that in our little jot form, and you sent it through, and I saw it before Kari did. I was like, it was literally the week that we were putting this song on the list already. So for the first time ever, we had a dupe because you suggested Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield, which is a great song.
But this song is better. This song is better.
Yeah, when you came right back and I was like, oh, I love this song. So what is your song?
Everything happens for a reason, you guys, right? So like, if at first you don't succeed, there's a lesson to learn that takes you to what the solution is. Katy Perry, Roar.
Yay!
Yes. Isn't that what we're doing here in menopause? We are roaring.
Yeah.
We're not taking it.
I mean, that you mentioned a couple weeks ago in an episode about a power pose, Kari. I mean, this is a power song. Like this, you just cannot feel all the empowerment without listening to that song when you're listening to that song. I love it.
So true. I love it.
So
do you have a favorite line from that song, or is just the whole song?
I just love the part where she's like, hear me roar.
I know.
Roar. Like she just
gives me chills, that song.
Yeah, she brings it.
I love it.
Oh, well, Susan, I'm so happy to see you, and you are glowing, so it gives me a lot of hope. So grateful for this time with you, because this ride, despite all the right steps, it's been challenging. So it's been a gift to me. And in fact, I have to say, earlier when Lisa and I hopped on earlier, we were both like, even like we both just had this and I was talking about this roller coaster I feel like I've been on. So you just really uplifted me with all this. So thank you. Thank you for bringing your wisdom and just even the celebration to this topic.
Yeah, and even though it has been a different, I'm in that 40%, which quite frankly because I'm surrounded by so many women who aren't going through it the way I am, there's a little bit of guilt, right? There's like survivor guilt of like, I'm not having these things.
Celebrate it.
I mean, correct.
Yes. A hip replacement.
I did have a hip replacement. I know I've had my things.
We all have our thing.
The point being, it's like I like I said, we have a friend who's been on the pod before, and Amy's my age, and like she carries around a bandana and wears a neck fan. Like she is always going through it. And so there's this part of me that's like, oh, and also I will say this too, there's a part of me that thinks, have I just not gone through it yet? I got my IUD taken out in August. I haven't had a period, so I assume I'm done. But, like I didn't go through all of this stuff. So there's a part of me that thinks, God, am I waiting? I'm almost 55. I can't possibly be waiting for the shoe to drop.
Well,
but
I have a friend of mine, she's 58. She still gets her period. She's in perimenopause for sure.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the thing. There's this unknowing for me as well, So
12 months. I think 12 months of not having a period.
But see, I haven't had a period in 18 years. That's my point. Like I haven't. So it's
talking about periods, like. Yeah, this is funny because Lisa and I talk about this all the time. I didn't have one at all for 2 years, and then I just got one recently. So weird.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's
let's talk about
my
that.
point being, even though I seem to be in the 40%, there's this
Mhm.
little part in my brain that goes, are you? So even though I am not experiencing it yet, or maybe never will, knock wood, this is still such great information. And again, I know so many people that we want to push your way, because I think you're doing amazing work.
Thank
And you know, you're fun, you're caring, you're
Thank you.
funny. So you're going to come at all of this with a sense of humor and a level of caring that I think is unmatched. So I'm excited for you and for anybody who works with you.
Thank
Yes.
you. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. What a great episode. We will likely need you back
Yeah.
again on this journey, or I will. So we will stay in touch.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we'll, as I said, I've said a couple of different times, but we'll definitely link all of this, including the masterclass. It's in the show notes. It'll be in our emails out to everyone that we do. So if you're not yet following us on social media, we'll also be throwing
Oh,
up other.
follow.
Yes, please follow, because then we
You're
can
not
tag
following?
you and send all this everybody to you. But again, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thank you for
Yeah.
having me.
You're welcome.
Yay. Thanks for listening, everyone. And we'll see you next week.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.